The 2006 NBA draft had high expectations. We saw guys like Tyrus Thomas, a promising young big man who just came off a college season where he was the SEC Freshman of the Year and Co-Defensive Player of the Year. Adam Morrison, who spent 3 years at Gonzaga and had one of the best college seasons of all time in his third year, leading the NCAA in scoring with over 28 points per game. Sheldon Williams, a fundamentally sound, highly skilled big man with incredible physical tools, measuring at 6'9" with a 7'4" wingspan. Brandon Roy, who should have been the best player in this draft, but yeah, the injuries and degenerative knees killed his career. And Andrea Bargnani, the #1 pick who many believed would become the next Dirk Nowitzki, but that obviously didn't work out. How's it going, ladies and gents? My name's Andy, and recently I made a video about the 2000 draft, which I believe is the worst of all time. But at the same time, the general consensus was that the 2000 draft class was kinda weak to begin with. Now, we're gonna take a look at a draft that was supposed to have high expectations coming into it, but over a decade later, most of the top draft picks are long gone, for one reason or another. And in my opinion, this is the most underwhelming draft ever. So I mentioned a couple of players earlier who were some of the biggest names of the draft, but unfortunately, they did not meet their expectations. With the exception of Brandon Roy, who was a 3-time All-Star before the age of 25. If he didn't have knee problems, he could have had the best career out of anyone else in this draft, but it happens. Now let's take a look at the other great players who've had the best careers and they're still relevant today. JJ Barea. He went undrafted, which really wasn't a surprise. He was a 4-year player at Northeastern and averaged over 20 points a game, but the problem is he was way too short. He's listed at 6 foot, but I think that's really generous. Some have said he's closer to 5'10" without shoes. But Barea carved out a nice career. After participating in the Summer League and impressing the Mavericks during his workouts, they instantly signed him and he managed to play 33 games in his rookie season. In his first 5 seasons, he'd stay in Dallas and steadily improve every year as he got more minutes too. Barea was a crucial part of the Mavs championship run in 2011. In the last 2 games of the finals, he scored 17 points in Game 5 and 15 points in Game 6. And at times, he actually looked unstoppable. Despite being barely 6 feet tall, he's able to use his body really well and developed into a solid 3-point shooter with good court vision. That's why he's been able to stay in the league for so long, even as an undrafted player. Paul Millsap, the 47th pick of the draft. You know, looking at this draft, most of the best players were drafted really low, like outside of the lottery. In Millsap's case, the main reason he went so low was because he was really undersized, yet played like a traditional big man. Usually, that's a bad combination that doesn't work well in the NBA. In college at Louisiana Tech, he was a phenomenal low post scorer and rebounder. But at the draft combine, he measured at just 6'6" without shoes on. That pretty much scared away so many teams from drafting him. In fact, I saw a mock draft recently and he wasn't even projected to get drafted at all, not even in the second round. But with that being said, Millsap overcame all of that. He made up for his lack of size with his toughness and strength and became one of the best defenders at his position. Also, he was the best player on that Hawks team that won 60 games in 2015. Offensively, he expanded his game over the years and became a solid shooter and good passer, although his 3-point shot is still inconsistent. PJ Tucker, the 35th pick of the draft. I'm willing to bet most of you didn't know Tucker was even in the 2006 draft, but he was. He was even a teammate of LaMarcus Aldridge in college, and even recorded better numbers than him. So why did he go 35th in the draft while Aldridge went 2nd? Well, just like with Millsap, Tucker was really undersized. He played like a power forward, but he was 6'5", and nobody thought his skill set would translate to the NBA. For the most part, the scouts would be correct, cause Tucker played only 17 games in his rookie season, and then for the next 5 years he played overseas, in Europe. It wasn't until 2012 when he finally got his chance to return and join the Phoenix Suns. By that time, he drastically expanded his game, developing the skills necessary to play on the wings. But it's his defense that everybody praises him for. He's a really good defender who can guard 3 or 4 different positions, and that's the main thing that helped him get back into the NBA. Kyle Lowry, the 24th pick. I'm sure we all know about Lowry, but in his first few seasons, it was kinda rough. He was primarily a backup point guard, but eventually he became good enough in Houston to grab the starting spot. He loved Houston and wanted to stay there for a long time. Lowry blossomed under coach Rick Adelman, but when Kevin McHale became the new coach, they didn't get along very well. Lowry said, quote, "Things are a lot stricter with McHale, and with Rick, things are a lot different. Offensively, defensively, I was really successful with Kevin McHale, but I just didn't do it the right way. If I did it the right way, I would still be in Houston." Regardless, the Rockets moved on from Lowry, as they were going in a different direction. Rajon Rondo, the 21st pick. Another well-known player who we're all familiar with. Throughout his career, Rondo has been known as one of the smartest players ever. In Chicago, some young players said he was the best teammate they've ever had. Sometimes he could also be a head case and clash with other people, but that comes with the package. At just 22 years old, Rondo was the starting point guard of a Celtics team that won the NBA championship. 4-time All-Star, 4-time All-Defense, and 3-time leader in assists. And as his career progressed, there were some highs and lows. The lowest moment was probably when he tore his ACL in 2013, and then when he kinda quit on the Mavs because he didn't get along with Coach Carlisle. But besides that, Rondo typically steps up his game in the playoffs. Playoff Rondo is nothing to laugh at, it's a real thing. You could just look at the stats, his playoff numbers go up across the board compared to his regular season. Thabo Sefolosha, the 13th pick. We're finally in the lottery, but honestly, there aren't many more players worth talking about. Sefolosha has been a solid role player for most of his career, a good shooter, a great defender, and he even made an all-defense team in 2010. I don't have much else to say about him, but like Millsap, he was also part of the 2015 Hawks team that won 60 games. Except, Sefolosha couldn't even play in the playoffs because the NYPD broke his leg. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I don't even think they got punished for doing that, which is kinda messed up. Anyway, JJ Redick, the 11th pick. Redick is another role player who's had a very nice career. He's more of a super role player. He plays his role of running around, coming off screens, and getting buckets on an elite level. In his 12th season in the NBA, Redick averaged a career-high 17.1 points per game. He was a late bloomer as he had his breakout seasons with the Clippers. Of course, he's never the star of his team, but he's arguably the best complementary piece if the team already has a great playmaker. Playing with Chris Paul and Ben Simmons has truly elevated his career, and they benefited from him as well. Rudy Gay, yes, it's this guy, the 8th pick of the draft. One of the best players in history who never made an All-Star team. There's still time for that, but it's unlikely. Gay had an interesting career so far. With the Grizzlies, he was expected to become their franchise player, especially after averaging over 20 points a game in his sophomore season. But he just never developed into that kind of player. He diversified his scoring arsenal and improved defensively, but the other areas of his game stagnated, so he never became a superstar. He was kind of a black hole on offense. It doesn't help that, after Gay got traded, the Grizzlies had their best season ever, reaching the Western Conference Finals in 2013. Pretty much the same thing happened in Toronto as well, who got a lot better after they traded away Gay. I don't want to say he's a team cancer or anything, cause he's not, but in his younger days, his style of play was not optimal in helping his team win. LaMarcus Aldridge, the number 2 pick. Aldridge was actually drafted by the Bulls with the number 2 pick, and then they made one of the worst draft day trades ever, sending him to the Blazers for the number 4 pick, Tyrus Thomas. Yeah, it was not a good trade. Thomas became a bust, and Aldridge became a perennial all-star. His career is still going strong. Him and Kyle Lowry are the most recent all-stars from this draft. During an era where post-play and the mid-range shot is going out of fashion, Aldridge has completely ignored the trend, and he continues to play the way he's most comfortable with. And that's pretty much it. Those were the best and worst players of the draft. I'll show you some other photos of players who were in this draft that you might recognize. Jordan Farmar, Ronnie Brewer, Sean Williams, Steve Novak, Shannon Brown, James White, Boobie Gibson, Ryan Hollins, Lou Amundsen, Chris Copeland, Randy Foye, and CJ Watson. The way this draft turned out was really underwhelming, especially at the top of the draft. Guys like Tyrus Thomas, Adam Morrison, Sheldon Williams, even Andrea Bargnani, they were all busts or had underwhelming careers. There was good talent near the later part of the draft, but overall, 2006 was not a great year. Definitely one of the worst in recent memory. Alright, that's all folks. Let me know who your favorite players are from this draft class. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.